911 for what town or city?
Calgary.
Ambulance, police, or fire?
Oh my God, all.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
I don't know. I just came home and I found my wife downstairs and there's blood everywhere.
Are you with her now?
No.
Is she awake? Is she breathing?
Oh my God.
Is she breathing?
Hold on 1 second. There's so much blood. No, she's gone.
I'm sending help. I'm sending someone to assist you.
Welcome to The Cellar. Amanda Antoni was born on June 5, 1984. She grew up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and was adopted by a loving family at a very young age. Amanda had 2 older brothers growing up who absolutely adored their adopted sister. It's been said that Amanda was an animal lover with a kind heart. Amanda would eventually move out of her foster parents' home, and in her 20s she would meet her eventual husband Lee. The pair would get married in 2009. According to Amanda's husband Lee, the couple were inseparable. Interviews with family and friends would bring forth information about her marriage. It's said that, like many other couples, Amanda and Lee had their problems. One of those marital issues stemmed from Amanda being the breadwinner. She ran her own house cleaning business, while her husband Lee would consistently struggle to hold down a job. The pair lived in a home located in Castle Ridge. Castle Ridge is a residential neighborhood in the northeast quadrant of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. The neighborhood where the couple lived had a statistically higher level of crime, with reports that homeless people had, at times, entered their backyard to collect recyclables. With that backstory, let's now dive into the terrifying events that took place in October of 2015. We'll start first with Friday, October 23rd. On this day, the pair had plans to take a 6-hour drive to Saskatchewan. Lee's mother needed help in settling his father's estate, and the pair were heading out for the next handful of days to do so. According to Lee, Amanda suffered at times from migraines. That Friday was no different. With Amanda not feeling well, the decision was made for her to stay home. Lee would inevitably make the 6-hour drive by himself. On Saturday, October 24th, at around 7:06 p.m., Amanda and Lee would start a phone call with one another. At some point during the brief call, Lee would hear the dog start barking. Amanda was then heard yelling at the dog to quiet down. Within mere moments, the phone call would drop, leaving Lee unaware of what just happened. Lee would immediately attempt to call his wife back, but when he called her cell phone, it went straight to voicemail. He tried the house phone as well, but received no answer. Lee then texted his wife. When he didn't receive a text back, he just assumed her battery had died on her phone. He figured he would hear back from her as soon as she got it charged back up and working again. The following day, on Sunday, October 25th, Lee still had not received any kind of response from his wife. He would text her again while he continued helping his mother out with the estate. Monday, October 26th would roll around and still no response from Amanda. Sometime that morning, Lee would get in his car and start the long 6-hour journey back to his house in the Castle Ridge neighborhood. When Lee arrived home, he found the front door of the house locked. He would enter and find Amanda's purse and keys on a table. He then began looking for his wife. He soon found dog urine on the floor and would inspect the animals' dishes, finding that both their food and water was completely empty. He then let his dog Ruby out into the backyard. When Lee was asked about the back door, he did not remember whether or not it had been locked or unlocked at the time. With the dog now outside, Lee would head upstairs in search of his wife. Not finding her there, he soon came back downstairs. Now, according to Lee, Amanda always found the basement of their home to be creepy. She simply didn't like to go down there. But with no sign of his wife anywhere else, Lee would begin taking the stairs down into the basement. He would be greeted with a sight that no husband, hell, no person should ever have to witness. There, on the floor of the basement, was the lifeless body of Amanda Antoni. The body, as well as the entire area all around the body, was covered in blood. Lee would soon call 911. You heard the call at the beginning of this episode. In that call, you can hear how broken and hysterical Lee was when he found his wife lifeless in the basement. The police would soon arrive on scene, and the investigation into what happened would begin. Police and autopsy reports would eventually be released. In those reports, it was found that Amanda had suffered blunt force trauma to her face, head, back, buttocks, and extremities. She was covered in bruises in all the same places and had a laceration on her face. She had suffered a nasal bone fracture and an orbital bone fracture, but no brain injury took place. Her body was also found with her pants pulled down, but no apparent evidence of an S assault was discovered. Ultimately, Amanda had succumbed due to a massive loss of blood. Now, this next part is unclear, but I read that her death was deemed an accident, and I also saw somewhere that her death was ruled as undetermined. Either way, it's not fully known to this very day what exactly happened to Amanda Antoni. Some more vital information in processing this case would be her time of death, as it was ultimately ruled that she had passed at some point on Saturday, October 24th, between roughly 7 and 7:30 p.m. This means that she passed on right around the same time her phone call abruptly ended with her husband. Police that had reported to the scene would later go on to state that it was the bloodiest crime scene they had ever encountered. Footprints and blood splatter would be analyzed, and the results would indicate that all of the footprints and blood at the scene was Amanda's. There was no sign of anyone else ever being in that basement with her while she bled out. One of the creepiest aspects of this case is the footprints discovered at the very bottom of the stairs. As from looking at the prints, it appears that Amanda had gotten back up at some point and stood at the bottom of the staircase. But why didn't she try to go back up the stairs and get help? Amanda's body was found about 10 feet away from the basement steps. Upstairs within the house, police would discover an overturned chair about 8 feet away from the basement opening. They also discovered Amanda's phone on the floor with the screen broken about 10 feet from the basement opening. Lastly, the police found a piggy bank at the top of the stairs. It was broken, but still together. It appeared to have been struck, and when it was, it caused an imprint into the wall at the top of the basement stairs. Shards from the piggy bank would be found embedded in Amanda's forehead, as well as on the steps and in the basement. Police would speak to neighbors of the couple. It was reported that around the same time of Amanda and Lee's phone call, a neighbor heard a loud dog begin barking. They also heard someone yell at the dog. Another resident in the neighborhood reported seeing someone running away from the area and through a different neighbor's backyard. Whoever this person was has never been determined. There was no signs of forced entry into the house, but as we stated earlier, Lee doesn't remember if the back door of the house was locked or unlocked. So there is the potential that someone could have entered through the back door. So what happened to Amanda Antoni? Well, when the police first began investigating the crime scene, they were led to believe that someone had entered the home and committed a heinous act. But when reports came back showing only Amanda's blood and footprints, the chances that someone else was there seemingly changed, which led to investigators having to look into the theory that this was just a horribly tragic accident. This idea is not a popular one with the family of Amanda, as the gruesome crime scene photos showed blood literally everywhere in the basement. For Amanda's loved ones, well, there's simply too many details that can't be explained away by the idea that she simply fell down the stairs. The overturned chair in the dining room and the broken piggy bank on the ledge, whose fragments were found embedded into her forehead, all lead family to believe something more sinister occurred. There was also an odd thing that took place, as neither the family dog nor either cats ventured down into the basement to be with Amanda during the entire time her body was down there. The most confusing aspect of this case for everyone involved is still the fact that Amanda clearly, at some point, stood up from her fall and made it to the very bottom of the stairs. But not once did she ever attempt to climb back up those stairs. Why wouldn't she attempt the stairs and try to go get some help? As you can see, this is an absolutely puzzling case from top to bottom. If you look at the initial evidence, it seems apparent that someone may have done something to Amanda. But with all the blood splatter and footprints analyzed, well, it paints the opposite picture. What caused the chair to get turned over? What caused Amanda's phone to end up on the floor with the screen broken? What we do know for certain is that Amanda did hit her head at the top of the stairs on the piggy bank that was sitting at the ledge. Evidence proves this enough. She hit her forehead on the piggy bank and toppled down those stairs. At the bottom of the stairs, she would have been bleeding and would have been in pain due to the broken orbital and break in her nose. Now, from the crime scene, it appears a struggle took place, but as we said, zero evidence anyone else was ever down there with her, so we have to believe the struggle was her slipping and sliding around trying to get her bearings. At some point, she does regain a bit of composure, as we can see based on the evidence that she was able to stand up and make it to the bottom of those stairs. But why didn't she attempt to climb up them? Was she simply too disoriented to try? Or was there something at the top of the stairs stopping her, or scaring her into staying inside the basement? Looking at everything, I have two possible ideas for what took place. The first one will be my idea around it being an accident. Perhaps, while Amanda was on the phone, the dog got rowdy. As Amanda yelled at the dog, she may have tripped over the dog in the commotion. This could have led to her falling down, hitting her head on the piggy bank, and rolling down the stairs. The dog, now scared over what happened, could have taken off running. The dog could have knocked over the chair, and perhaps when Amanda tripped, the phone went flying as well. Now, my only issue with this idea is where the phone was located, as both the chair and phone were located around 9 to 10 feet from the basement opening. Is it possible the phone flew that far out of her hands? Perhaps. Perhaps she tripped farther from the stairs than we think, and as she kept trying to catch her balance, she careened towards the basement opening. And thus, what happened. I still don't think this is a foolproof idea, as the question still remains, why didn't she climb those stairs? My second idea is that there was an intruder in the home. Perhaps the dog was barking at someone, and that someone snuck up on Amanda and grabbed her. Maybe the phone and the chair were knocked over, and in the altercation, Amanda gets pushed into the basement opening. Not a perfect theory either, given no evidence of another person was ever found, but this could lead to why Amanda didn't climb the stairs. Maybe the person who broke into the house was at the top of those stairs. Maybe Amanda didn't realize how badly she was bleeding and figured it would stop, so she stood at the bottom of those steps and hoped the person would leave, and inevitably, she lost too much blood. She would grow weak from blood loss and eventually succumb to her injuries. Once again, not a perfect explanation, as why were Amanda's pants pulled down? But I will say, that last explanation is the most terrifying to think about. Now, many have pointed to the husband in this case. The police did verify that he had an alibi for when Amanda lost her life. Also, he seemed to truly be a husband who was broken and shattered from what he came home to. If that's acting, then he deserves an Oscar. My only suspicion of the husband lies in what he didn't do. I know how I am with my wife. I can say that if my wife's phone died, well, things would have been handled differently. I'd give a little bit of time for her to potentially charge a dead phone, but after like 15 minutes tops, I would begin to consider worst-case situations. It would be at that point that I would reach out to a friend, family, neighbor to go and check on my wife. In no way would I allow communication to be non-existent for multiple days. The fact that he didn't do anything to check up on her does make me wonder. Maybe it's just me, but I would love to know what each and every one of you think, so please let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. This is hands down one of the most bizarre, unsolved mysteries I've ever encountered. On that note, I want to take a quick moment, as I always do, to send my sincere condolences to Amanda, to her husband, as well as all her family and friends. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you enjoy the content, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps the channel continue to grow. Also, if you want to make sure you don't ever miss a new upload, you can turn on the bell notifications after you subscribe. In the description box below, you will find a link to my merch store and a link to the Cellar Dwellers membership tier for the channel. If you're interested, please take a moment to check those things out. If you'd like to submit your own scary story or a story recommendation, you can do so using the email linked in the description box below. As always, I do all the research, writing, recording, and editing for the channel myself, so anything you do to support the channel is greatly appreciated. Until next time, I will see you all again as we head back into The Cellar.